Welcome to Learning to Glow, a show about wellness, skin health, and self-development. I'm your host, Jess. I'm a mom, entrepreneur, and skincare expert. I'm so excited to share tips on how to achieve healthy skin and bring amazing guests in the field of health, fitness, aging gracefully, and personal growth. Let's explore all different ways we can take care of ourselves as women, both inside and out, to truly shine. So let's get glowing. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our show today. I love our episode for this Wednesday. We have such a great guest. She is Sherilyn Long. She's a master herbalist, massage therapist, and hypnotherapist. She works with women who suffer from autoimmune and chronic inflammation. We talked about so many topics in this episode. She has a personal experience of dealing with sort of having a mysterious condition and trying to figure it out, trying to deal with what is going on, and having trouble finding the answers that she needed, as well as just simply being heard. And this kind of turned her into a new direction as far as a little bit away from Western medicine to get to the bottom of what she was dealing with. And now she helps her clients do the same. We talk about how she helps her clients with sensitive systems, and we get into what that even is, but also we get into breast implant illness. She helps a lot of women who are currently suffering or they're post-explant and they are healing. So this is a really important topic, and I share some of my past struggles with some chronic health issues I have in this episode, and a lot of women that I know have also dealt with. So it's a really good one. Sherilyn talks about how we can store emotional pain and trauma in our bodies, and some really cool examples of how she has helped her clients release and heal from stored trauma in our bodies, which I love. I really love this topic. This is something that I'm learning more and more about. She is also a face reader, which I loved hearing and learning from her about what that is and how she uses it in conjunction with her other services. As you can tell, she is very well-rounded. She has a lot of different ways that she helps her clients in a holistic way to see amazing results. She is in North Idaho, but she also sees clients virtually as well. So I will make sure to link all of her information in my show notes. I hope you love this one as much as I do. Please share this episode with someone, a friend, someone who you think would benefit from it. And if you haven't already left us a 5-star review, I would really appreciate it if you could run over. It just takes a minute. And any platform that you listen to, there is a way to leave a review. I appreciate it and enjoy this episode. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the show. Thank you, Sherilyn Long, for coming on and being a guest of Learning to Glow.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
I'm so excited that you're here. We are going to have a great conversation today. I want to introduce you. You are a master herbalist and you do so many other things. Like I was looking at your bio, you have such a long list of expertise. But if you could help us by just introducing yourself, telling us a little bit about what you do, and then we'll go from there.
Well, thank you so much. So Sherilyn Long, I am, as you'd mentioned, I do have a lot of different things, and sometimes it's a bit challenging explaining all the different pieces that I'm doing. But I'm a master herbalist. I'm also a massage therapist out here in North Idaho, and I do herbal consulting. I do face analysis and hypnosis. And I work with women with autoimmune and chronic inflammation, helping them to feel their best self. And a lot of times, a big part of what I do is it's holistic, because a lot of these women and men that have autoimmune conditions, but typically happens more with women, that they tend to get tossed around and they're not heard. And so a big part of what I do, even if they're coming in, I do an herbal detox massage where I'm custom blending herbs, applying them topically. And, I take care to really listen to them, to sit down and follow and track their health journey and to support them in all holistically, in all those different areas. And I get great results. I'm delighted and very, very honored to be walking with them through that journey.
I think that's so important what you said, because I've had chronic illness in my life as well. And a lot of times when you go to the doctor, they don't know what to do or they can't figure out why. And there's sometimes you're just like, like you're fine. Like, there's nothing we can do for you. So it sounds like you, with all of the modalities that you utilize in your practice, there's so many different ways for you to help your clients. But I'd love to start because I've never had a master herbalist on my show before. So can you tell us what that means and what you do in regard to that? It sounds amazing, but let's break it
Yeah.
down.
Thank you. Well, to clarify, herbalism here in the United States is not necessarily a regulated profession. And so then you go through schools and they have their different labels of their certification, what they have on there. And so oftentimes when I teach herbal classes too, and I let people know, I ask them the question, well, what is a master herbalist? And, they all pipe up and answer. And I say, it means nothing. It means that I'm studying the master. You're looking out in nature, you're seeing how are things designed. And it's a constant learning process. So I studied with the School of Natural Healing, and I've piecemealed a lot of my education because it was a really good foundation for me. But then there's so many plants and there's so much to learn. So it's constantly learning and revising. And I think one of the best things working with clients, but then also teaching classes as well, has been some of the best things for my education that is continuing, it's ongoing, because, when certain things come up, it's like I get to refresh and learn about different plants and stuff. And the goal is to assist the body in its natural ability to heal and repair itself. So we have a blueprint within ourself and in our cells that is for health. And I will say this to my clients too, because again, they're disconnected from their bodies and they're going, why in the world is this not working the way that I want to? And to be able to look at this and go, okay, wait a minute, your symptoms are there. They're signposts for you, for your healing process. It's not that your body is misbehaving. It's that it is, and sometimes the symptoms are actually the body trying to heal and repair itself. And so it's a very different perspective than your allopathic standard medical perspective, is that we're not treating the body as if it's misbehaving. We're looking at it holistically and supporting it on its journey. So you may find certified herbalists, they have different labels, or they might say clinical herbalists. And I certainly do clinical work within my practice, but that is the gifting that I've been given from the school that I've trained with, is master herbalist.
So I know you use herbs topically and you put them on the body. Is this something that is internal as well, or does it stay more topical as you're treating the body?
So I keep my services pretty separate. So if it's herbal consulting, then I am including the internal. And then when I'm doing the massage, I will apply it topically, just because, again, I'm a licensed massage therapist and I'm an herbalist. So there's a little bit of a balance with that. And that enables me to have both of those, enables me to do more with my clients, which is wonderful. I create custom herbal blends based off of who all's coming in for the day. So it's not just targeted to one person, it's targeted to everybody. And it always ends up working out as far as what those blends are. I create a big pot of tea and soak the towels in there and apply them topically. And that is so much more effective than even just using hot towels. And then I'll do tinctures and herbal oils and other stuff that I am doing with the massage. So I'm maximizing the benefit of having those towels working in there. Yesterday, I had a gal that had some thyroid stuff, so I knew the herbs that were in there and how that was working, and so I was wrapping her throat, and then also using some oils and stuff to help continue to get the lymphatic system going to support that. So really a holistic perspective.
Oh, I love that. That it's like a dream what you're talking about. I love all of this wellness. Like, I wish you were in Southern California, but so let me ask you, you just gave me a great example of somebody who has an issue with the thyroid. What are other health concerns that your clients come in with, and what is a common one that you see often and that you treat?
Yeah. So a lot of people, a lot of women having thyroid issues, um, working with fibromyalgia, swelling. I do lymphatic massage, but it's a medical massage, so it's different than like your water technique, where I can get into some of those muscles, but people with sensitive systems, deep tissue, it can actually be quite damaging if you have a lot of inflammation in your body. And so I can work, and I'm working to get things moving. And then as we progress with sessions, then I can, in certain areas, dig in a little bit deeper. But I'm always working holistically. I do abdominal work as well. So a number of people may come in with swelling. They're and they may not know, they're just not feeling right.
Okay.
And hormone issues, that they're coming in with headaches, frequent headaches. I am a trauma informed practitioner. My early journey is I was studying marriage and family therapy, and I had my own health issues. And so I have that background with the clients. I did about half of my master's in marriage and family therapy. And so I have that background of working with people. And a lot of times, especially with autoimmune, there is a trauma component to it too. So there's a blend of different things. And I do actually get a lot of women coming in with breast implant illness. That is quite common.
I want to talk about that in a little bit, but before we get
Yeah.
to that one, you mentioned sensitive systems.
Mhm.
Talk to us. What is a sensitive? What does sensitive systems mean?
Well, yeah, I'm using what my clients say. I have a sensitive system.
Okay.
So Lyme disease, maybe that too, or mast cell issues where their body is just reacting. But I think it's an internal experience, right? If you feel just really tender and sensitive, right, then your body may react to certain supplements or certain things. And potentially there could be, for a number of folks, if they have some MTHFR stuff that's happening, um, that might be a component of it. But they just, I'll say earlier on in my own health journey, there was a period of time where I was reactive to everything. And even doing an allergy test, I had a reaction even to the saline solution. And so it was just really inflamed. And so that's essentially what I mean by sensitive systems. It's a label that speaks to people, especially if they're going through that and they go, "Yeah, that's me."
Mm.
So yeah, so that's who I work with.
Is this why you got into this work because of what you've been through with your health?
Yeah, yeah. A lot of people in the natural health world have gone through their own health issues,
Yeah.
and that's led them to this. And I grew up. So first of all, anytime you have like, also fibromyalgia is not technically autoimmune, but it is inflammation, and people think of it that way. So I do get a lot of fibromyalgia, but I had chronic fatigue syndrome, and I had some. It was rooted back in heavy metals, but it was also some trauma growing up, and that it was the tipping point. And for me, I got to the point where I couldn't make a fist with my right hand. I was in my 20s,
Mm.
and I had brain fog. I was grunting when I would get out of the car. It was just, everything was just such an effort. And with like, so the example with my right hand is I would have to use my left hand to peel my fingers down. If I didn't make a fist yet, those fingers would pop right back up. And I would peel it all the way down until I could hold, push my thumb and hold my hand tight, and then it would stay. And it was absolutely devastating. And other folks would say, "Oh, well, you're getting older, you've got the brain fog or whatever." And I'm like, "No, something's not right." And that's a lot of times what happens for people. They go, "Something is not right." It may or may not show up in testing, but that doesn't mean that there's not something there. And so I went to the doctor, and you know, my both of my parents had passed away, and there was a number of things that were happening that were stressful for me. But they would just go, "Oh, well, are you going to therapy or whatever?" And it's just the way that they would say it. And yes, the body mind, it all connects, but the way that they would say it was kind of condescending, gaslighting almost, like,
Mhm.
this is your problem. And so that was a big journey for me. And I ended up connecting with some natural folks because, they believed me and they could support me. And then I was studying massage and herbalism and continued my journey from there. But I have been working on myself for a number of things, dramatic improvement, and I'm delighted that I can work with other people too and support them, because I think everybody needs to feel heard and valued, and also to feel not at war and disconnected from their bodies and from nature. Like, you belong on the earth. You belong here. There's food outside, right? Outside our door, there's food out there. Like, you are loved just like the deer that's walking down the street. So to be able to get into tune with that is really very powerful and very healing.
Yeah, I think it's important too. It's such a good story because, and I've talked to people like this. They listen to the doctor that's not helping them, and they're like, okay, I guess this is just normal. I just have to deal with this. And I've been through a lot too. So, there got to be a point where I had to go the more natural route too when it comes to my health, because I knew, and I found out pretty early that I wasn't going to be, my chronic illness is not going to be helped in that setting. There was nothing that they could offer. So it's like you have to be like you, where you could really listen to your intuition and say, no, this isn't right. And keep looking until you found somebody that believed you. That's so good. I'd love to talk about another thing that you mentioned, which is breast implant illness. You said you have a lot of clients who deal with that. So if you could just tell us what that is first off, and then I'd love to know, like, what are some of the symptoms that come along with it? And then we can talk about what you do to help them.
Yeah. So the body is not designed to deal with foreign materials. And part of my journey that I realized that chronic fatigue and other stuff was rooted in having some root canals and the metals that my body was rejecting. So a lot of the symptoms that I had personally experienced are the same as a lot of women with breast implant illness. So essentially, they have implants in their body and their body is rejecting it. And it may be because it's breaking down, but they've also shown studies that for women who have had their implants removed, but maybe they haven't noticed other symptoms, that all of a sudden they're also getting health improvements. So I do notice a lot of, some of the first symptoms might be swelling in the ankles. It could be anxiety and Raynaud's syndrome, cold hands and cold feet. There's a whole list of them. Like, I think that there might be upwards of 65 to 100 different symptoms that these women are experiencing, and they don't know why. And so then they're running from here to here. They're having tests. There are all kinds of stuff that's happening. And it's right here, which is, this is a really key lymph area near your armpits, in your breast area, to have foreign material. And it doesn't matter if it's saline or silicone. There's still silicone, but there can be heavy metals in there. There can be mold. There's a lot of things that happens. And so if for those women, that I say that the ones that have the big symptoms right when they have them put in are actually the lucky ones, because they can go, hey, this is what was wrong, versus the ones that have things stretched out. And there are some cancers that are actually associated with breast implants as well. So it plays out because your whole body is it's a system. It's not separate. Even dental, I mentioned dental. Dental is connected to the rest of your body. You can't separate these things out. So I'll ask those questions. Somebody's coming in and they're like, why are you asking all these detailed questions if you're coming in for a massage or, whatever the thing is? It's because I want to know holistically what's going on with you and to be able to support you. But yeah, it's devastating. And of course, there's a lot of money in it, so the implant companies are not recognizing it. But there's not been one implant company that has actually fulfilled their their research requirements to be authorized, like in a legit way to prove that it doesn't cause any harm. And so, it's a big business. Now, women they come in and see me because they're dealing with autoimmune. So some of them may still have their implants in, and I'm checking and monitoring. I do breast massage as well. And then I'm, whether it's pre or post surgery support. So if they're having them removed, there's a capsule. So anytime you have anything foreign in your body, so even a hip implant or any of those things, the body creates a capsule that is trying to sequester it to either break it down or to save you, right? Because if you have a splinter, your body's gonna try to push it out. But if you have something that's deeper, it's not able to do that. And so it encapsulates it. And so what happens then is that's where you've got the mold and the other stuff, and it's starting to break those things down. The best way to be able to feel better, a lot of these women, is they need to have the whole capsule removed. So it's called a capsulectomy. And end blocked capsulectomy essentially is what they're going to want. And so I have one surgeon that I do work with that's out here in Spokane, and they do it appropriately and everything. And one of the things, I was very delighted to talk to the PA, and he said, I wish that all of our clients went to see you because you get the best results. But I'm central because I've had folks come from Moscow, way lower, all the way up to Bonners Ferry. They come in far to come and see me. And so I like a central location. And he says the one complaint we have is that you're not right here because we want everybody to be able to see you. And so that feels pretty good. I think
amazing.
The herbs really do matter, and the holistic approach really does.
So this is something that they come to see you post-op, because what's the repercussions, right? So if you have this, say you get the appropriate explant removal, the one that you mentioned,
yeah,
what are the repercussions? Like, what are they left with? I'm very familiar with this. I've had breast implant illness myself. Mm-hmm. And I know that one of the things that really upsets me about this and other things in our medical world is the lack of transparency and the fact that they can stare us straight in the face and say that they're completely safe and there's no problems. And, that is what really upsets me the most about all of this. And there's so many people that just don't know any better. They were literally told by a doctor who is one of the most trusted people on the planet that it's safe and it's okay. So they have all these symptoms, and then they even go back and say, I'm having these symptoms. And they're like, that's not related. Then there's the gaslighting again, which is even worse. But say they go and get the removal, what are the symptoms that they continue to have? I know for me, I did not just bounce back. It wasn't just like they're out and I'm great. There's still to this day, like, things I'm working on with my health. But tell me what you see with the women that you work with. And I've also heard, people immediately feeling a million times better. There were things that changed immediately for me. But yeah, let me ask you that.
Yeah, it's supporting the lymphatic system to be able to get those toxins out of the body.
Yes.
And I do that topically, but having the internal support, so making sure you're clearing up any heavy metals and plastics, and working on potential mold and other stuff, but working on the detoxification pathways as well for the body is really essential. And the body does detoxify in cycles, so it's a journey, right? And I think often there is a mental emotional part too. You can't separate that. I don't know if you can see here, but I'm getting a little bit emotional of you talking about it, because I think about this is a different track, but I used to work with developmental disabilities, and having all these moms that go, my baby was perfect, but then this happened, and whatever, and that they knew, but then other people would look at them and go, well, you're crazy. And that just moves me so deeply. There's a journey, and it's not just a one and done. And that's the thing too, is we look for immediate solutions, And that's, that's the medical model, right? It's like a big giant bazooka, but then there's all these other side effects that are associated with it. And so, the best way that's the long term, that's actually true health, is to work on the whole. And you have to address the mental emotional piece too, that you can't separate from that. Even going after a natural approach, if that part is not addressed, it's going to take longer. Like, that was your body, right? There were some emotions probably around seeking the implants initially, but then looking down and going, this is not the same as it was before. And to be able to process all of those things and address the internal detoxification. But it's different for everybody as far as the recovery period. But I would say for women, I think a lot of times, they're saving up just to try to get an explant. They can't get insurance coverage. It's just heartbreaking.
Ugh.
And then they do, and it's like, okay, it should be done, but they need to think also even financially about the aftercare to be able to make sure that they're there, and the steps it's going to take to be able to continue to heal.
Well, I know people who can't remove them financially.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's so expensive, especially if you go to someone who does it correctly. And there was a support group. There still is a support group. That's amazing. If anyone's listening and is wondering, if they have implants, could this possibly be me? There's a great support group on Facebook, and there's so many women who are sharing their stories and talking about their symptoms. And it's like, you're like, oh my God. Like, I knew immediately because I had no idea. I had never heard of it. Somebody told me about it. And I was like, oh my God, like, I have all of these symptoms. Like, and I just had no idea. I feel like more people are talking about it now. That was in 2020 when I heard about it for the first time. And I'm the type of person who's like, they're gone tomorrow. Like, I didn't care at that point. And I saw so many women in the group that were like, no, I won't do it. Like, I like them too much. I think that goes back to like the mental emotional part of it. These women were really sick, but they wouldn't even consider removing them. And I'm just like, okay, that's something to look at. That's something to get curious about. Why is that more important than your health? There's women who are really sick, sick. Like, it's a big deal. And, then there's other people who are fine. Like, they are seemingly, they don't have symptoms or whatever. But when you talked about sensitive systems in the beginning of this call, I do relate to that. And I have always, my mom and I joke about it. Like, I've always been the person, if somebody's going to get something, it's me. Or, I get sick easy. I do have the MTHFR. Like, it wasn't no surprise that I had the symptoms that I had with the implants, because like my system, I don't think can handle very much. And so the part that's hard for me is that it took 14 years to figure that out. And but slowly but surely, like in my 30s, when I was like, should be thriving, I was so healthy, I got hypothyroidism, and, I had chronic fatigue too. And it was like, what the hell? I'm like, this should not be happening to me. So I feel like one of the things that I love about my podcast is I just want to give information. I know how delicate this information can be when someone listening might have implants and they don't want to hear it. They're maybe in denial about it, or they don't have the money for it, or whatever, to get them removed. But also for people who are listening and are like, maybe I want to get it because I've breastfed and I want, like, I always say, just make informed decisions, do your research, listen to other women. Don't just listen to your doctor who is going to make a lot of money off of this procedure.
Yeah. It's hard, I think, again, because there may have been a lot of women who may have experienced bullying or other stuff that has led to that.
Yeah.
My own journey, I connect with that because that was me. I also connect to the other aspect because when I was in sixth grade, my mother had breast cancer. And so as a child, I was helping her, healing her wounds, and treat those, and seeing the ramifications of that. And so even, my autoimmune journey has been It wasn't breast implant in particular, but had I had the ability to do that, I may have, because of how I had felt, and that's like the saddest thing, I think, of like, just how do you get to where you can be really comfortable with yourself? And the the hypnosis and the coaching is great for that, to where you have a completely different perspective and you can be at home in your body and all of those things. But that's a big piece to overcome as well. What I do like also that I do is, whether it's with the herbal consulting or with the coaching, is I'm monitoring things with clients too. So it's like, what can we do to support your system? If you can't financially afford to go do this, then there are things that we can do to help support you, so then life is not so miserable. Um, Ideally, if you can get to a point where you can get those removed, that's going to be even better. But it doesn't have to be an ongoing track, because it's about toxicity, right? So if you have a cup, I like to give the example of, if you have a kid, right, and they have their glass of juice or their glass of milk, and they want to shove all these cars and all these toys inside of there, and the water is just flowing all over the place, right? But if you can take those cars and those things out, then it's not going to overflow, right? So there's other ways to be able to take out some of those toxins to support the system. What I love about doing the face analysis too is I get to look at people and work with them in particular. I'm not just looking at numbers, but and you see these women when they have their implants removed, they always show the before and after pictures of how their faces are different. I'm like, oh, I want to analyze that, like show you actually what I'm seeing. But that helps to support. So if they can't go in and do it, because it is expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
Tell me
Yeah.
about the face analysis.
Yeah. So I learned from Dr. Todd Frisch. It was just he's an amazing guy. And so the face is fascinating. You can learn about physical symptoms and physical weaknesses, potential weaknesses there, but then it also connects with personality. So I'll do a 8 to 12 page report, detailed report with people, and I'll sit down or online and do a detailed talk of going through that. And it may go into coaching, or it may go a little bit more into herbal consulting, because you can even see, depending on if it's left side, right side, one side is male, female, that sometimes it's like, okay, you've got an unshed tear related to a male, and then all of a sudden it's coaching, right? Or it can be like, hey, we want to support your thyroid. So it can be a number of different things, and it's fascinating to look at, like, the level of eyebrows, and did you have conflict with your parents and potentially some divorce or other things. Like, it's uncanny. And for everybody that I've worked with there, it's spot on. And so face analysis is interesting, but it is pretty cool tool.
Oh, that's so cool. So when you do face analysis, do you couple it with coaching, or is it just like if they need more support, then you offer coaching?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it goes there a little bit, because I always want to make sure that people are heard in the session, that I am going through stuff through their report with them. But that gives us a direction of, do you want to move into the more coaching thing? Then this is the track for you, versus here's some herbal consulting. And, if I'm doing herbal consulting too, and they're not able to do a full face analysis, I'm like, hey, let's support your kidneys. And they're like, why are you doing that? I'm like, it's because I can see it.
Oh, that's so fun.
Yeah.
So like the hypnotherapy play a role in this, because you did talk a little bit about that when we were talking about like the emotional part of, dealing with illness or chronic illness. Tell us, for anyone who doesn't know what it is, maybe you could start there. What is it, and when do you use it?
Yeah. So all learning, all behavioral change is rooted in the unconscious mind. And so this is the part that is keeping you alive and functioning. You're driving your car and you're daydreaming, but then this is the one that's like, hey, I can still still drive down the road. And so hypnosis is really just the way that I do it is you're relaxed, you're in there. It's not a stage hypnosis type of thing. I've never had a problem with people in my office, and no problem hypnotizing them, I should say, because some people will say I'm not hypnotizable. I'm like, no, well, it's an exchange, right? We're working together for this goal. And the beautiful thing is that you get to participate in the process as far as what you want. And so it's just kind of this relaxed place. Folks will say, hey, I've never felt so relaxed before, which is great. And it creates this really profound shifts. And so a lot of times I describe it like, say all of a sudden in an instant, those flowers that are behind me, here it's just gone. And you're like, something's kind of different. It's not quite there. And so it's just not an issue anymore. So it's highly effective for that. So I'll give you an example of how the body and the mind connect. So I had a client one time that came in, and she had been doing hypnosis with me for a little while, and she comes in and she has an experience with one of her clients, a work related, and who was really mean and awful, was screaming at her, and it was very emotional. And she says, well, I had this situation, it's going to bother me for a while. And I just kind of laughed and I said, well, do you want it to? Because you're here for hypnosis. We could work on that if you want to. And she's like, oh yeah, let's work on it. Well, she also had right shoulder pain, and that was new coming in. And so we just worked on this emotional piece with this person, and because the mind doesn't know the difference, and the body doesn't know the difference between real and imagined. So you can imagine a different future in that relaxed place, and then your biology will respond accordingly. And so we went back through and gave her that empowering experience. And, because you repeat, when you cycle in your head, you're looking for that different outcome. If only I would have said this, or only I would have done this. And so then we walked through, and in this empowering place, you could hear yourself hanging up the phone because she's yelling at you, hey, I'd love to talk to you when you're calm, and going through this process in hypnosis. And then at the end I said, now I want you to feel yourself reaching out your hand, and she's handing you a check, and you grab the check, and you've got a smile on your face, and you can feel it, and you can feel her hand in your hand. And I want you to hear yourself say, thank you so much. It is finished. And when we came out of the hypnosis session, she says, you know what? Because sometimes you do remember what people say, and sometimes you don't in hypnosis. So in this situation, she remembered. And she says, when you said it is finished, my shoulder popped and my pain completely went away.
Oh my gosh. That is so amazing.
Yeah. And so we go, oh, now we know what that's all about, right?
Wow. I mean, that's kind of something that I've been talking about with some guests lately, is how we store things in our body. And I have a friend who I gave Reiki to, and she was going through something emotional, some pain, and her right shoulder was really bothering her. And I think it's all so fascinating. It's real. It's not woo-woo, this stuff. It is totally real. It's amazing.
Now, have you interviewed anybody that does German New Medicine?
No.
Have you looked into that?
No.
Oh, goodness. So I'm just starting. I mean, it's still relatively new over the past year, and it's just such a deep dive. But based off if you're right-handed or left-handed, it could be mother-child, or it could be other relationships. And where it is in the body, it's a biological program that's running. And it's so fascinating to me. And so it's kind of a new area of just dipping my feet in, but it's enough to be able to see with clients. So even I love doing the hands-on and the herbal consulting. If they just do one, they get great results. But being able to do both is fascinating, because I mostly work with women, but before, when I was working, they'd bring their spouses in, and the wives would have right shoulder issues, and maybe their husband had a health issue, or they were building a business and they weren't able to work. And so they were not able to support and shoulder what was going on. The husbands would come in and they had left shoulder issues. And it was just like, are you serious? I could actually see how things would play out. But yeah, so if you're right-handed, your right hand is your detailed hand, your left hand is, so the left side then is like where you would carry your baby. So that's mother child. And then opposite if you're left-handed. And to be able to see, okay, where you've got, if you got a hip issue or whatever, there's something that just happened like right before the pain started. And that's really interesting. So combining some of that knowledge with what we're supporting, whether we're doing even herbs or flower essences, because that's more emotional related, or doing hypnosis in a hypnosis session, then we can kind of target some of the mental emotional pieces that might be connected with that.
What do you know what your shoulder, like if you have pain in your shoulder, like your right shoulder, what is that? Do you know?
Well, there's different traditions, and I'm interested in how they all dovetail. So it's like, what does the shoulder do? The shoulder carries things, it reaches. It's like, do I have a shoulder to cry on? But it's a muscle of strength, right? So in that instance, it's, a lot of the women that had that right shoulder issue was like, hey, I feel like I'm carrying a bigger weight than I need to. And maybe and carrying a weight, I'm not feeling supported. I'm not feeling supported by my spouse or whatever. Like, I had one gal that she was going through a really difficult divorce. For a long time, she had right shoulder issues. And then it came in where she was worrying about her kids. And all of a sudden, like, it was left
Oh
shoulder,
no.
right? So we would talk through that and of course work through it physically, but then address some of the other pieces and, finding that she can get some relief. As long as it's not active, it's like for that situation, it was still an ongoing process. And so that was maybe some support. So then that way she wasn't so triggered, but she still had to walk through the process.
Right.
So yeah.
Oh, I love that. Oh, that's so interesting. I think that is so interesting, all of that. So when somebody comes to see you for the first time, what does that look like? Like, do they sign up for a service, or do you go, okay, I got a plethora of things I can do with you today, depending on what you need, or how does that work?
Yeah, so my business, Idaho Therapeutic Massage, they oftentimes the hook for a lot of people is massage and doing the herbal detox massages. But some people, if it's by referral or otherwise, will see like, hey, I want hypnosis or I want to do herbal consulting. I also do with my herbal consulting, I'm a shape reclaimed practitioner. And so that's reducing the inflammation in the body. So sometimes the lead will come that way. And then we can kind of go in whichever direction they need to. And I do have my program that I offer where it includes all of the stuff. So it includes the massage and includes the herbal consulting, and I do your analysis with the herbal consulting, and so it includes all of that. And that's always the best results. If they can at least take two of those things, they're going to get some better results than if they just do one. But yeah, I sit down and I talk to them. So if they're coming in for a massage, it takes 20 to 30 minutes of intake that I do detailed, like what's going on with your health and checking in with them and getting an idea before I even get them on the table. Because when you have this background of health stuff, you don't need somebody just digging right in.
Yeah.
And you need somebody to listen. And so even follow-ups, I'm sitting down and it could be 15, 20 minutes, depending on what they need. If they need more talk time before they get on the table, then that's what we do. But I think it feels good to me that I am listening and attuning to my clients and that they feel heard. And yeah, so.
Yeah, I think especially after you've had your own experience with not being heard and dealing with chronic issues, like it's really important. And I mean, you can just customize and make the treatment more effective that way anyways. So it's so smart. And for someone who doesn't, you're in Sandpoint, Idaho, is that right?
I am in Sandpoint. My business is in Hayden.
Hayden, okay.
So yeah, so that's in the Coeur d'Alene area.
Yes, I know. I have family that is in Hayden, and I've been to Sandpoint. It's so beautiful. I went for work like years ago, and I just loved it. But for people who are not in that beautiful part of the world, you also work with people online. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so
I do. And
tell us where they can find you And if they are interested in working with you online, we can share that too.
Yeah, so idahotherapeuticmassage.com is my website. I do have online booking that's in there. They can also call me and we kind of see which direction they want to go, what works best for them. And if they've got health issues, but the things that are loudest to them is the mental, emotional, then, hey, let's do the coaching and the hypnosis first. And so we kind of tailor it to them. Or if they're interested in face analysis, then, we take a picture and I process it. And there's a lot of back time that I'm doing to prepare before we show up for the session.
I love face analysis. I think it's amazing. Thank you for coming on and sharing all of this with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I do want to say one other way to connect with me is I did just recently publish. So I have a journal series.
Oh, good.
That is a seasonal journal series to connect people with nature and to kind of prepare for the season. What are the lessons of the seasons, the themes of the season? It was a little late coming, but the autumn one is done. The winter one, it's on Amazon, and the winter one is in editing right now. And so that's been kind of a fun win too. So thegracefulleaf.com, you can see it through there or find me on Amazon.
Okay. I'll link all of this too for the listeners. So it makes it super easy, but thank you so much. It was such a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you so much. It was delightful.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode. Please subscribe and review so we can reach more people who want to learn to glow alongside us. See you next time.